Hi everybody, it's Lori here to open the vlog for the week. So this week's theme is going to be the word secret, which comes from Books and Lala or Kayla's Buzzword challenge. I have decided to select my 4 or 5 titles for the week with the word secret in the title. We're going to do that for just this week. It's not going to be for the entire month, but I have selected a few books that I think will be a lot of fun. Hopefully I get some great 5-star reads out of this week and I can share my thoughts with you. I have chosen 2 Nancy Drew books for nostalgic purposes. If you saw my book haul, you saw these in that haul. I was able to pick these up at Second and Charles for under $3.50 a piece. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm excited to read some of these books. They're probably going to be a little bit hokey, definitely outdated, but I know there were some that I remember very fondly from childhood. I loved them all, but there were a couple definitely from childhood that I really remember fondly, and I would like to save those in my collection. So I think I'm going to try to reread these. They're going to be a fast, quick read. So I thought it'd be fun to add a couple of them this week. There are quite a few titles in the Nancy Drew series that have secret involved. So I thought that was fun. I chose not to pick the first book in the series, which is The Secret of the Old Clock. My husband's like, just pick that one up, take it. I decided not to pick that one up because I have read that recently. And so I thought I'd get these two, The Secret of Shadow Ranch, which is number 5, and The Secret in the Old Attic, which is 21. So I'm going to read both of these this week. Actually just started on this one and it's going okay. I mean, I think they'll be quick, fun reads for the week. I tend to put books on hold at the library in what I think is plenty of time for them to come in. I don't want to get them too early because then they just sit on my shelves, and then if somebody puts a hold on it, I can't renew it. So I have to time it just perfectly. So I was getting a little nervous, but this one finally came in. I'm excited. Of course, fits with our theme. Secretly Yours from Tessa Bailey. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about this one. I thought it would be fun. Nice little contemporary rom-com romance. That's what I think it's being billed as. Excited to try this one. We have an author that I have read in the past that I've really liked. When I was going through some of my series that I'm in the midst of, I realized I only had 2 more books to finish this series, and I don't know if she's going to continue it or not. I'm not really sure. I should probably do a little bit of research, but this is Tana French, The Secret Place. So I thought it would be fun. These are chunky books, and the atmosphere is a little bit, I don't want to say depressing, but she writes so atmospherically dense, I guess I could say, and describes it so well. And you feel the economic hard times that some of the people are going through and their daily struggles to make ends meet. And so that's what can make it feel a little bit like that. I have really liked her writing in the past, so I'm excited to finish up this series. And the final book for the week is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sandu Mandala. I've heard so much about this book. It looks super, super cute and fun. Happy. It's about found families. It couldn't have picked a better week for me to read this book. I'm super excited and I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts as I read through this book. So my first book of the week was, since I've already read it, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Of course, I was in a reading slump after reading that, I want to say god awful, but it wasn't god awful. It just was non-emotional. It was so flat. It was one-dimensional, zero emotion, too many car chases, too much testosterone. Oh my goodness. It was Murder Book by Thomas Perry. I gave that a 2-star. That was the book that I ended last week's vlog on. I saw myself slipping into an immediate reading slump and needed something stat to counteract it, and this was the perfect book to do that. It was so cute. We have a story of Mika Moon here, who is a witch who has been raised by herself, basically, because she has been told all her life that the power of witches is too, I guess, concentrated once they get together and can cause problems, big issues. And so she's basically lived a very lonely existence due to the nature of witches. They are orphaned, unfortunately. And so they tend to grow up with like a surrogate family of sorts, or people that just aren't their birth parents or birth families. And so Mika has only known a very lonely existence where she was raised by tutors. It's a it feels like never ending series of tutors. And so she has figured out basically on her own how to do magic. Now, this very secret society, there's a very secret society. They don't have a term for it, I don't believe. But they meet, what is it, every third Thursday of the third month or something? I don't know. I was laughing at that. They meet up, but that's the only time they get together. They don't have each other's contact information to get in touch with each other. She has a very lonely existence, and she decides to start a YouTube channel, which I thought was really cute, and pretend to be a witch. Well, that works until she's spotted by somebody who wants to hire her to be the tutor of 3 very young children, witches. And so she has to determine whether or not she's going to do that, because it goes against everything she's been taught her entire life. But she decides to give it a go. And this book talks about her journey with these witches, all of the fun stuff that goes along with it. There's like grumpy sunshine, romance involved. This was so adorably cute. I absolutely loved it so much that I think that I might actually buy a copy of this for myself. Just seems like the perfect book if I'm in a really rough emotional space, or falling into a reading rut, or just need something as a pick-me-up. This is just such a cute, happy book. I just loved it so much. It's like a warm, friendly hug from a bunch of really awesome characters. I would love this to be a series. I would absolutely love that. I don't know that it will be, but if you have not read this book, pick it up. I mean, if you find yourself falling into a reading slump, pick this up. It was just such a happy, fun, upbeat story, and definitely a 5-star, probably in contention for one of my favorite books of the year, for sure. I mean, I know that we're in early March, but I loved this so much. Okay, so the next book that I have just started, I just barely scratched the surface of this one. They're short, but I just barely cracked open the spine of this one. It's The Secret of Shadow Ranch from the Nancy Drew series. I'm going to go ahead and read this. We'll see if I don't intermix the two. I'm not sure. I guess, I'm kind of a mood reader, so I will play it by ear. I'll let you know an update after I have read this. So far, Nancy has traveled out of town to Arizona with her friends, Bess and George, to a ranch. She no sooner lands at the airport in Arizona, and Bess and George meet her at the airport and say, hey, we have to get flights home. Uncle so-and-so, I can't remember, I'll look, has said that it's too dangerous. There are scary things happening on the ranch, and, you guys are girls, we have to send you home. So I think that our intrepid detective, Nancy Drew here, will talk him into allowing her to do her famous detecting and figure out what is going on. I'm excited. Brings back a lot of memories, fun memories from when I was a kid of reading these books. So I will check back in with you as I finish the book. I have finished the first of the 2 Nancy Drew books that I am reading for the Secret Buzzword Challenge this week. It is The Secret of Shadow Ranch. This one was written in 1931. I was actually pretty surprised. I had my family guess to see if they could figure out what year the Nancy Drew books were written. At least I said this one. And they came pretty close. My oldest son was the closest. He said 1938, I think, something like that. My youngest said in the 60s, and my husband said in the 20s. I would have probably guessed 50s or 60s, so they came pretty darn close. These are short, these are cute, these are intermediate reader books. I read them all as a kid multiple times, and what I'm trying to do is figure out what my favorite ones were. And I picked this up at my local Second and Charles. I grabbed a few of them, all under $4. Let's just say it that way. Under $4 a piece. I believe they're used, but they don't look like they've ever been cracked open, so I was happy about that. In this particular case, Nancy and her 2 trusty sidekicks are best friends, Bess and George, who are cousins, fly out to Bess and George's relatives' ranch in Arizona to spend the summer riding horses, having a great time. And of course, there's a mystery that almost derails their plans right from the beginning, and that do they have to go home because it's too dangerous for you gals, you know, all the girls. It's too dangerous for the girls, and they need to go back home. Nancy convinces Aunt Bet, I think, and Uncle Ed to allow them to look into the mystery, that they will be careful. And of course, they get themselves into all kinds of precarious situations while riding horses. It was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy my time spent with this. There are a couple of uncomfortable moments, and the series, I remembered as I was reading it that Bess is always thought of as the chubby one, and her cousin is always telling her to stop eating so much, even though she typically eats what they do, and maybe she wants an extra cupcake or something. I don't know. Interesting how those ideas were remembered in my mind from back in the, oh gosh, long time ago. That I read this series, but it was fun. Nancy, of course, proves that girls can do anything that boys can do, right? But only better. What was the phrase? Was the sing song that we had back in the day. I really enjoyed it. I don't know that I'm going to rate these. I feel a little bit weird about rating them because I don't know that I'm going to rate any of them a 5-star unless it's my favorite. I know, like I said, I know there's a couple of them that I absolutely loved, and if I remember what that is, I guess I'll give it a 5. I'm probably going to give these an average rating of a 3 because which is a good rating. It is. And if it's something that really stands out to me and I really think about it, 4 or 5. But yeah, these are a good, solid read. Really fun to go down memory lane and remember why I love them. So the next book that I've decided to pick up and read for the week is Tana French, The Secret Place. I just started reading it. I'm about 22 pages in, and I'm definitely reminded of why I like her writing, but that I can't overdo it too much because the atmosphere just sucks me in, makes me feel all kinds of emotions that stick with me later. You've got this hardscrabble life of a lot of these characters, and so it kind of just like brings me down a little bit, and so I couldn't binge the series all at once, let's put it that way. But I really love her writing. But this is in the Murder Squad or Dublin Murder Squad series, where it really focuses on different detectives or murder squad members for each of the books. Now, a couple of them I think repeat, and you do see overlaps of characters, which I find fun, but it's not always focused on just the same detective, so to speak, or murder club member each time. So there will be, pop-ins of different characters. You get to catch up a little bit with them, but it's not solely focused on one character, which I like throughout the series. Kind of adds different nuance to it. We have our detective, Stephen Moran, I believe it is, that is trying to become a part of the murder squad. He's trying to make his way onto the squad, get his big break. He's in cold cases right now. And so he's trying to prove himself to the other members of the team that he needs to be a part of them. There was a recent retirement, and so he is angling to get that open spot. He is handed some information from a 16-year-old female student on a cold case, the murder of a male student at a private school. And so that starts the investigation all over again. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. He was just given the information and they are going out to investigate. We're hearing a little bit more about the backstory of these girls at this school. So I'm interested to see how all this plays out. And I'll either give you an update, or if I just blow right through this, or I'll let you know what I thought at the end. Doing a check-in of Tana French's The Secret Place. I am about 104 pages in. So far, we've had a new clue come to light from one of the high school students, I guess that would be equivalent, has turned in a clue to the police, the detective agency here in Dublin, to give them a heads up, something that was posted on The Secret Place, it's called. It's a board that the girls at this all-girls school can put up some things that are on their mind. They put it in anonymously. They try to put it up there with nobody looking. Things that are on their mind that they want to get off their chest, so to speak. The school, of course, discourages bullying, and they take things down that are directly against a student. One of the things that you might see on there is a picture from a magazine of like a model, and the person says, you know, I hate my body, something like that. So it's kind of like a way of a confession, getting their thoughts out and putting it out there without attaching their name to it. Somebody posted a clue on this secret place board, and now the police are starting their investigation of this cold case all over again. We had a murdered male student at the adjacent, I guess it would be all boys school. He was murdered, and so now there's a clue, and so they need to restart their investigation. Right now they're in the midst of questioning all of these girls that could have been in this area of this secret place at the time that it was posted. So they're trying to narrow it down, question these girls a little bit more, but you know, they're high school girls. They have their own secrets. You can just kind of tell that they're holding things back. So far, it's interesting. It is atmospherically dense and brings back high school, not in the best light. I'm like, man, those were hard years, I think, for all of us, most of us anyway. I don't know. Those are tough years trying to fit in, find your group of people, finding your people as always. So it's kind of bringing back some memories. I am going to do some reading sprints, try to read a little bit more of this book, and I'll be checking it, probably do another check-in and let you know how I'm progressing through this book. Hi friends, I wish I had better news, but I'm here to confess that I had to DNF The Secret Place by Tana French. I just could not do it. There was way too much teenage angst going on, and there were some things that were starting to really depress me. I was finding ways and excuses to avoid reading, which never happens. It's normally the opposite. I'm always trying to say like, oh, you know, I'm waiting for, you know, my husband to run into the store and grab some milk. I'll just bring my book with me and read it in the car, something like that. And of course, I have my face pressed into the book after work when I'm relaxing, and I'm finding excuses for my husband to make dinner. So yeah, it's normally not the opposite where I was finding excuses not to read the book. I was doing everything but, and then I had to be honest with myself that this book wasn't really resonating with me and was really actually kind of depressing me and throwing me into a bit of a reading slump. So I decided to be kind to myself and decided to DNF it. I have loved her books in the past. It's been a few years since I've read them, to be fair, but this one just did not hit the mark. Too much teenage drama, the whole drama that goes along with being a teenager. I do not envy anybody that is a teenager now in current times with social media and all that, all the pressure that it brings along with it. And you could definitely see a lot of that there. This was a lot about the pressures that teenagers feel and all of the things that they do to fit in, you know, finding the right clothes and the right makeup. They even talked about striking the right pose so that they could be seen at the right angle and to be seen in the perfect light, and who was watching and what boys were there, and if they were talking to a boy or they were talking to their friend group and being seen with so-and-so. There was even the conversation about being seen as either frigid or a slut, which is unfortunate that we they have to choose between the two. It's like, what? No, neither one of them is a good option. So it was really making me feel, like I said, depressed and throwing me into a reading slump where I just really felt like, you know, I didn't really even want to know how this all ended. And I'm glad that I didn't finish the entire thing. I probably got about halfway through and said, you know what, this isn't for me. So when I do that, a lot of times I'll skip ahead to find out what happened. I really didn't care that much, to be honest, but I wanted to see. I just thought, well, I'll just be curious. And so I can talk about a little bit of my feelings with the ending. Obviously not give you any spoilers, but just talk about that a little bit. I'm really glad that I didn't finish this. This is one of the tropes that I really don't like, that makes me uncomfortable. I would have been even more upset with myself if I had finished this book. I will say, I need to take a break from this author for right now. I was going to read the final book in the series next week as a part of my vlog and decided I just need to be kind to myself and take a break. Unfortunately, I have loved her books in the past. They are so atmospherically dense and depressing for me a lot of times. And I know that's not everybody that feels that way. I think it's just a personal thing with me. And so I've decided to put this author back on the shelf for a little while. But for now, unfortunately, this one's going to be a DNF. I'm going to need to struggle to get out of this reading slump and move forward with my TBR choices for the rest of the week. So in doing that, we'll put this one aside. I have picked up Secretly Yours from Tessa Bailey. This is a totally different scenario, so I thought something different. We have a little bit of a fun, quirky romance here. We're described as a rom-com that you might find on Netflix. So I thought this might pull me out of my reading slump. I'm excited to see where this goes and what my thoughts are. Romance has actually been hitting the right mark with me lately. I haven't always loved it in the past, but if they're kind of the fun, lighthearted romances, I've tended to like those, the contemporary romances. So we'll see if this can pull me out of my reading slump, and I will check back in as I read the book. Hello friends, I have been working my way through Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I am really enjoying this. I'm about halfway through. We have Haley Welch, who is a proprietor of I want to say it's landscaping, but it's basically like a horticulture business where she plants flowers. She does it basically on her own whim, and what she knows will turn into a gorgeous display for her clients. She's highly sought after and really loves her job. She is also day drinking, which is kind of a problem for her. She is trying to help her now deceased grandmother's best friend's business stay afloat. They had a rival open right next door, and interestingly enough, has called themselves Uncorked. And the previous business was Corked. So we have Corked and Uncorked next to each other competing. They are wine sellers and offer, wine tastings and cheese pairings, that whole thing. And so Haley is trying to help her grandmother's best friend, keep the business afloat. Not getting a lot of customers. All the hype is over at Uncorked, this new and hip business in town. And so Haley has been, she's been going through it. She's been sabotaging them a little bit. She's doing some prank phone calls. There are quite a few things that she's doing to try to stop this business from being so profitable. She just gets so angry when she thinks about it. So she's struggling a little bit. And then we add to this Julian Voss, who shows back up in town. He is a college professor that has come home to his family's vineyard to write a book. And he is very much on schedule. He sets his time for how much he's going to write every day. Everything is worked out for him. I'm going to take a shower at this time. I'm going to spend this amount of time eating breakfast and so on. And that's how his life is ordered. He can only function in order, not at all chaos. So the two of them are complete opposites. Haley is kind of a whirlwind, tornado type of a person who flies by the seat of her pants, so to speak, and he functions on order, complete order in his life. So of course, opposites are going to attract, and the two of them are going to find their way to each other. This is so cute. I am loving it. I can't wait to see how it all ends up with them. I'm sure there's going to be like the third act type of conflict that's going to happen. I hope they end up together. They're super cute, but I will check back in with you once I'm done reading the book. Well, I have finished Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I will say I was really fighting a potential reading slump. I could feel it, and I just didn't want to read as much as I normally would. And I just kept powering through. I did give myself a break and was kind to myself a little bit, and, just took the break, like I said, but I really wanted to push through because I really was enjoying myself with this book. This was super cute. It's a romance, so you know what that means, but there was definitely some moments in here that I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What's gonna happen? I want to see the two of them together so much. They were adorable, even though they were totally different, and definitely have their work cut out for them in terms of their completely different styles to approaching life. That is for sure, but this was such a cute and happy book. Definitely something that I needed to push me through this reading slump. I will say there were some, what people say, like spicy scenes in here, smutty scenes. They just, I don't know, there was something about it that just didn't strike the right chords with me. They just were a little odd to me, I guess I would say. And so that I was kind of like, okay. And of course, there's the typical, oh, he's so tall, he's so huge, he's so everything, it's like, okay, whatever. Those I probably could have done without or maybe rewritten, but that's just a personal choice, obviously. I really like this. Did I see that this is going to be a series? Am I imagining it or maybe hoping? I think this could be an interesting series. I'd like more about the vineyards and the wine making business, wine tasting, that whole thing. So definitely I would recommend this. I'm going to give it a 3.5 just because, like I said, there were some problematic elements for me personally in here, but overall I would say it definitely helped to pull me out of this reading slump, and I will be picking up more from this author, or if there's another one in the series, I'll definitely be picking that up as well. So thankfully, being in the midst of this reading slump, I have a very short book left to finish for the week, and I think I have dodged the bullet. I do. I think I've dodged the bullet of the reading slump, let's hope, and I will be able to just hopefully tear right through this one. This is The Secret in the Old Attic. We have Nancy and her friends Bess and George who are helping an elderly gentleman find his deceased son's musical compositions that he feels are quite valuable. He's in some dire financial straits, and so he needs to find these to help take care of his granddaughter, who has now gone to live with him after the death of both of his son and daughter-in-law. So we'll see how this all plays out. I'm sure Nancy Drew will save the day. Of course she will. And hopefully I can tackle this one, finish it, and give myself a little bit of grace before we start in on the next TBR. We made it, friends. I made it through this week. Oh my goodness. The last couple of weeks, I have read a book that has really been determining to set me into a reading slump, but I made it. I pushed through and I finished. I mean, come on, not that long. The Secret in the Old Attic, but let's get some applause, right? Let's get a little applause. I have finished The Secret in the Old Attic. A Nancy Drew mystery. This one is 21, so I am working through a little bit of this series. I'd like to read some. I don't know how many I'll get through this year. No pressure. I slide them in wherever I can, and I'm excited to try to find my favorite. I mean, who knows? Because what I thought was my favorite back when I was 9? Is that when I was reading them? It's probably going to be a totally different thing 40 years later. Yes, I'm almost 50, so I am, thinking that I might never find it, but that's okay. That's part of the fun. We will go on a treasure hunt with Nancy Drew, just like she would typically do, and we will look for the clues and try to figure out which ones were my favorite or which are my favorite now that I really enjoyed. This one was probably not it. I will give it a 3-star. I enjoyed this one. I will say there's a little bit of implausibility here that there were 2 separate cases that were coming together in a very strange way, and I knew it was coming just because of the way that it was set up, but it just didn't seem like it worked quite well. So I'm not sure that worked as well as I would have liked it to. And I really thought that Nancy would find the musical, I don't know, what do you call them? Compositions, I guess, in a more spectacular fashion. I thought it was going to be like this whole puzzle type thing that she had to work out all of the clues in a more, again, fantastical way type of a thing, maybe. It didn't work out exactly the way that I was anticipating. Me being the prolific writer that I am, would have liked to have seen it work out a little bit differently, but it was a solid Nancy Drew mystery. I am so glad I finished the week with this. I think I've broken out of the reading slump. I'm pretty sure that I have. I can thank Nancy Drew and a really fun rom-com romance for doing that, and I think that'll be the formula moving forward. So overall, truly, when I'm looking at the sum of the entire week, I found what could be one of my favorite books of the entire year. So I think that's pretty good. I mean, I started off with a bang and then it kind of went downhill. But to go from our friend Mika Moon and that beautiful story, which I want to see as a series that goes on forever and ever, to go from that to some of the depressing, feelings of these teenagers and remembering all of that from my childhood. That was probably not the best mix, I would say, but I'll take it. I mean, I found a really great book that is probably, like I said, going to be one of my favorites of the year. I know so many people have loved it. If you haven't read it, do yourself a favor, grab the book, pick it up. So overall, I would say this week was partial success. So next week's theme, I know I'm really going out on a limb here. Let's, I've got the backdrop here, green. Does that remind you of anything? Not that kind of stuff. Not the theme based on that. That might be interesting. I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of books with greenery in them, but no. I'm going to focus on St. Patrick's Day, which is next week. I am super excited for that. I did a little bit of a shopping trip. I know, I need to stop, but I don't. It's fine. It's a good vice to have. I think reading and books. We did a very small shopping haul. I will include that because one of the books that I had put on hold from the library was not available. I'll go into that story a little bit more. So I had to just purchase the book. I had to. So we'll do that. I will show you my corned beef, my famous corned beef that I make every year. I would make it more. My husband doesn't really love it that much. I do, and my kids do. I should just make it more. But anyway, so I will show you that. I think it'll be a fun week. I'm looking forward to some great reading selections, no reading slump, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.